Okay, so here we have a video from Cosmic Verse. We love Cosmic Verse. He does great compilations. He must spend a lot of time on TikTok and wherever else he goes finding these wacky, nutty broads, albeit they're not difficult to find, but he gets those rare gems, man. He gathers them, he compiles them into these wonderful compilations that I can then comment on. So thank you to Cosmic Verse. Go check him out. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you will be, well, notified when I post new content. Also leave a comment because it's supposedly good for the algorithm. I guess it is. If I get enough comments someday, I'll know for sure. But definitely leave a comment just to say hi. I usually respond to almost all comments. Unless YouTube doesn't notify me that there are comments, and believe me, that happens often. And also, go check out my GoFundMe. I recently had a life-threatening, almost died accident. Got a ton of medical bills, so if you want to support me and help pay for my medical bills, that would really be great. I'd appreciate it. Check the description and click on my GoFundMe link to learn more. Anyway, let's get into these wanky broads.
Kindly subscribe to the channel, as
Yes.
it is our sole form of support. Thank you.
The guy making this video is like, this is unacceptable. Hashtag men's rights. Hashtag men's rights activists.
Men's rights to go to war and die.
Here's why I don't like modern day feminism. Modern day feminism fueled my hate for myself and hate for men. It made me believe that the way that I was designed was never good enough, and I was supposed to be this independent career woman, and anything except that would leave me empty. I pushed down the desires to be a mother or a wife or a homemaker out of this feeling that I had to be something else.
This is the idea that's been pushed on women, and little do they know that it will do more harm to them in the long run.
Feminism teaches women to go against their base natures, their biologically determined natures. It's a form of social constructivism. And women are followers, they're collectivists, they're natural socialists, while men are more individualistic and reasoned and logical. So the collective messaging that you get from media, academia, the government, social welfare programs incentivizing this kind of behavior, this kind of mindset, this kind of ideology, all feed into this social constructivism, which is totally, completely, 100% against female nature.
Some of these feminists develop a deep resentment toward men because they've been sold the narrative that men are the enemy.
Right, and by the way, there's no such thing as modern feminism. That's just a way to for women to, in a very weaselly way, still get to keep all of the special favors, the favoritism, all the goodies they get from feminism. Well, you know, it's modern feminism that's bad. It's this fourth way mumbo jumbo original feminism that you got from the suffragettes. So that was the good feminism. That's the feminism that I adhere to, and you as a man should adhere to as well. Meanwhile, all feminism is based on the idea that men are oppressors, men are evil, they enslave women, and of course you're going to hate your oppressor. So the foundational principles of feminism itself that they talk about is the original, i.e. good feminism, are no different than the modern feminism. It's just a logical progression from those original foundational principles. So there is no good feminism.
Holding them back or oppressing them. Over time, this mindset creates a barrier between them and the possibility of building healthy, meaningful relationships with men. The constant focus on independence and competition with men leaves many women feeling isolated and unfulfilled, as they are encouraged to prioritize career and self over connection. They begin to see men as unnecessary and, in extreme cases, as obstacles, which only fuels their frustration when they struggle to find happiness or genuine partnership.
If there was a man...
Yeah, that's the whole point of feminism, by the way, to divide men and women, to divide the family unit. So that's no longer the foundation of power in America from which voting decisions flow. Split women and men up, control the women, control the men through the women, and thereby you centralize power into the hands of the government and big corporations, i.e. crony capitalism. We don't have capitalism right now.
Male protests of them hating on women. Does that not sound funny and stupid? But we do that as women. We gather up the ladies. Let's go fight. Let's go fight the men. The men don't want to fight with you.
I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I hate men.
Oh, wow.
I hate them all. Nobody has proven me wrong on this theory. They're either assholes out the womb, or they become assholes over time through experience. I hate them all.
Well, you know, you're the common denominator, sweetheart, so maybe you're the problem. And by the way, not a bad-looking broad, flowing fake blonde. She's actually brunette, but looks like she has a decent body. She's not bad-looking. Maybe if you stopped chasing Chads and went for, you know, a more middle-of-the-road guy, you know, maybe you wouldn't get treated so poorly that you have such a poor view of men.
I think when this woman says she hates men, she's talking about all the men that she allowed in her life.
Yeah.
She also mentioned assholes, which tells you the types of guys she's used to dealing with.
Right.
And because of her experiences with them, now she holds this hatred towards every guy instead of changing her type or her environment.
Yeah.
This is where her bitterness comes from. It's easier to blame all men than to face the fact that she might need to make different choices. It's a vicious cycle, because the more she sticks to the same types, the more negative experiences she's likely to have.
Well, notice she's got a nose ring. And this is pretty girl syndrome, pretty girl privilege, but it's not a privilege at all. So nobody ever challenges her, right? She's not a bad-looking broad. She goes for the top-tier dudes. The top-tier dudes, they're just interested in hitting it and quitting it. She's just interested in sowing her wild oats. So they're going to tell her whatever they're going to pander to her. They're going to cater to her. Yeah, you're great. You're awesome. You're so wonderful. You're so intelligent. They're going to tell her what she wants to hear. It's just she's never been actually challenged on anything she has to say. So she's lived in a bubble her whole life.
And the deeper her resentment grows. This is a broken woman.
We need to kill all men. I am sick of being a baby factory that produces more men that will just, in the future, subjugate me. So the only answer to that is to kill male babies and just kill any man that you see, like in the...
Feminism is a death call. That's what it is. This is what it leads to. This is feminism. Not fourth wave or third wave, just feminism. There are no waves. That's made up. That's just to try and create these delineations between good and bad feminism, when really it's just a progression from a foundational principle that the patriarchy is evil and the traditional gender roles are just reaffirming and feeding into the patriarchy, and men are oppressors. And that you have to overthrow the patriarchy, meaning overthrow men and dominate and control them via the apparatus of the government.
Streets, like any swinging dick, just kill him. Because,
Can you imagine if a dude said this, by the way? We gotta get rid of the womans! We gotta delete all the womans! Womans are evil! They're baby factories producing more womans, and they're just propagating oppression.
we want the species to go on, but we want it only to go on with women in it. So
how does that work?
That's what we have to do. That's the only way to keep the human race going, is with just women.
Without...
How's that going to work? Where are you going to get the genetic material to create more people? What is she talking about? You know, yeah, sperm banks got a lot of sperm, but they're going to run out eventually, honey. Then how are you going to make more people? And how are you going to keep everything running? The infrastructure, the electrical grid, the sewage, the trash. Who's going to pick up your trash? Who's going to clean out the sewer? You? I don't think so.
Men, there is no women. And without women, there's no men. She's basically saying, let's end all life on Earth.
Yeah, I mean, she might have looked like a man, but she ain't a man, and she can't do what we do.
This woman makes me ashamed to be a feminist, because I really want equality.
But you can't have equality. That's a myth. Total, complete myth.
I think we can all agree that this woman isn't a feminist. She's psychopathic.
No, she is a feminist. See, this is where I disagree with Mr. Cosmic Verse yet again. This is feminism. Because, hello, Men are your oppressor. You're a slave. If you look at the presuppositions that are the foundation of feminist theory and belief, it all starts with men oppressing women. Men have oppressed women since the dawn of time. There's always been oppression. Women have always been slaves. Men have always been slavers. Well, you destroy your oppressor. If you're a slave, it's perfectly okay to destroy, to delete your oppressor so you can have your freedom. This is feminism.
For her to say we need to kill all men for women could thrive makes me think she's suffering from a lack of D. I'm joking, relax. But statements like that make me think she's not only misguided. This level of bitterness and hostility toward men often comes from unresolved trauma, emotional voids, or an inability to form healthy relationships. Rather than addressing those internal struggles, she projects them onto all men, blaming them for her dissatisfaction, when in reality, she's only harming herself with this toxic mindset. If anything, it shows that what she truly needs isn't the eradication of men, but perhaps some self-reflection and emotional healing.
Well, the problem is that feminism encourages the type of behavior that does the damage to you, creates the trauma that leads you to hate men in the first place. So what starts out as an ideological viewpoint becomes a genuine, heartfelt disdain and dislike for men, not based upon ideology, but actual life experiences that, quite frankly, were created by the very ideology that you follow. And if you hadn't followed it, you'd be quite happy and you would love men.
I see so many women on TikTok. Of course, they're like liberal, complaining like, oh my God, dating's so hard in the city. All men are trash. All men are garbage. Blah, blah. It's like, do you think if you've been dating and you're in your late 30s and every man has had an issue with you or not wanting you, do you think that at some point the common denominator might be you? Maybe you're the problem. Maybe it's not like the 4.5 billion men on the planet. Trust me when I say there are thousands of people suitable for you. I think it might be you. You might be, if you cannot obtain a partner, you might be nuts. Also, I don't understand this thing, like, it's so hard to date in the city. I understand the challenges of the city. Where would you rather be? The cornfields where there's 5 people to date? What, do you want to go to an Amish community? I'm so confused. In the city, you have literally the most amount of options. I don't understand. What's better? What's a better option? I don't.
Well, too many options is actually not a good thing because it can lead to indecision. And it can also lead you to believing that there's always something better because you have so many options. So you actually end up passing on people that would actually be the best matches for you because you have this faux belief that there's something better because of all these options.
I understand these things.
Well, to be honest, they are the problem, yet they refuse to point the finger at themselves. Instead of taking responsibility for their choices, they blame men by saying they aren't enough, or blame society for their struggles in dating and relationships. Today, many women have too many options at their fingertips, thanks to social media and dating apps, which makes it harder for them to find that one person. The abundance of choices gives them a false sense of endless possibilities, making them believe that there's always someone better out there. If these women claim to be struggling with dating, it's because the guy they want aren't looking their way.
Okay, so this is how backwards modern feminism is.
Feminism is backwards. It's not because it's changed in some way. This is feminism. Feminism is backwards.
Feminism is undeniably anti-men. Yet at the core, now you have to critically think here, men have never had easier access to a woman's body and her sacred energy.
That's not true. Only the top 10% of men, let's even say top 5%, have easy access to woman in their bodies. The other 95% are invisible, or as you go down the ladder in earnings and desirability on look scale, the men have ever and ever less access. So you don't know what you're talking about, sweetheart.
She's wearing almost little to nothing. She's sleeping with any man that looks her way, and she's taking her clothes off wherever the she wants at any given time. This is all being disguised as female empowerment. But what modern women cannot comprehend is that men are not losing here. This is a win-win for men. You have your independence, and now he doesn't have to do anything to win you over. He doesn't have to plan any dates. He doesn't have to put in any effort. He doesn't have to do anything because you're exposing yourself freely in the name of equal opportunity. Please let that sink in.
Yeah, but these dudes have always, the men she's talking about have always had these kind of options.
At the end of the day, this whole movement of my body, my choice, I can have sex with 50,000 guys because men can do the same thing, is just a justification for why her standards are so low.
By the way, have you noticed how language has changed and men are no longer called dogs? Because now women are the ones who are overly promiscuous and sleeping around and sleeping with everybody they can. And so, now it's not a bad thing. Now we don't use the term dogs anymore because we don't want to pejoratize that behavior now that it's mostly women who participate in it. But when men were sleeping around all the time, or supposedly were, then they were dogs. But not when women do it.
Like, modern women have the lowest standards. They don't even exist. And
Wrong. They have the highest standards, and that's the problem. They keep sleeping with the same guys. You've got 80% of women are sleeping with the top 10% of dudes. They're willing to share these guys, and that's why they're miserable. That's why they can't get a commitment, because these guys actually do have endless options, and they don't have to settle down. They just hit it and quit it and move on to the next victim.
The reasoning for that is because I'm feeling empowered, here we go, fight justice. Girl, no, just say that your standards are really low.
That's exactly what those women call it, empowerment. When they sleep with multiple guys, trying to mimic behaviors typically associated with men, as if doing everything men do somehow levels the playing field.
By the way, yeah, women want to be men. They envy men, their behaviors, their supposed advantages, physically, mentally, and so they want to act like us. But it really just ends up being this gross caricature. And by the way, I thought the toxic masculinity was toxic, and yet you want to model your behavior after us. It's only toxic when we're masculine. When they're masculine, that's a good thing.
Some of these women even participate in hookup culture and call it "I'm finding myself," as if bouncing from one shallow connection to the next will lead to a deeper understanding of who they are. But what they fail to realize is that just because they can mirror men's actions doesn't mean it will have the same outcomes. Men and women often experience casual relationships differently. What some men might brush off, many women internalize. For these women, what they call empowerment can sometimes lead to emotional baggage, feelings of emptiness, or regret down the road. But they don't want to admit it because that would challenge the narrative they've embraced.
Well, it's all social construction, right? There's no biologically determined reason for any of this. No, women are very emotional compared to men. So, it's much more difficult for them to just have casual hookups with men than it is with men having casual hookups with women. You see, we are designed to be more prolific in the spreading of our seed, so we have, we don't as easily bond emotionally. That's not to say that we can't bond as deeply as a woman, but it takes longer. And we do it in a different way. We go about it in a different manner. But women, the physical act of lovemaking in and of itself has a very profound effect on them emotionally right out the gate. So no, they can't participate in this kind of behavior in the same way as men and have the same kind of outcomes.
Feminism still relevant in society today? Feminism started out as women's rights. It has skewed into...
No, it didn't. It was not ever about women's rights. It was only about overcoming patriarchy and destroying men.
Something entirely different than what it was. Modern
Wrong.
Feminism doesn't serve as much of a purpose.
That's such a myth. That's spread to create this idea of a good versus bad feminism, because now feminism is getting so much pushback that the powers that be are trying to create these delineations that don't actually exist to get you to continue accepting feminism.
as the original women's rights movement. Do you think feminism today hurts or benefits women? Modern feminism has put a lot of pressure onto women to get jobs.
See how prolific this message is? The problem is just modern feminism. No, the problem is feminism.
There's, I think, a large population of women who don't want to be working, who do want to like be a mother and stay at home. I think it hurts women.
So would you say like now today wanting to be like a stay-at-home mom is like actually demonized?
I would absolutely say that it is not a 100% accepted role.
Is a war on true masculinity.
The movement of feminism is the ultimate example of not choosing your enemies wisely. You chose men as being the enemy. 40 years later, 50 years later, you're 65 years old, single, not married, no kids. You're living in an apartment or a condo with a dog or a cat. That's all you ever talk about. And you're lonely and you're sitting there saying, I was wrong. Men are not the enemy. But guess what? That movement stole 50 years of your life. You know how painful that is?
Before these women even get to 65 in their prime years, they claim to be single by choice women.
Nonsense.
And focus on traveling the world and gaining experiences. They tell themselves that this is the
gaining experiences. Translation: accumulated a lot of baggage from chasing Chad and Tyrone.
Life they want, free from the responsibilities of a relationship or family, chasing excitement and adventure. But once that journey is over, they sit in their homes, wondering where they went wrong in life. That's when the reality sets in. They realize they've been fed a dream that didn't deliver the fulfillment they thought it would. Those are years they'll never get back. Years spent prioritizing temporary thrills over building lasting connections. They only reached this point because, along the way, they viewed men as the enemy, as obstacles to their independence.
And yet they use men for their pleasure. And they seek meaning in their life through materialism and hedonism, both of which are fueled and provided for by men and men's bodies.
Rather than potential partners in
and men's wallets.
In a shared life journey. They bought into the narrative that men would hold them back, or that settling down was a form of submission, all while failing to recognize that true partnership doesn't mean losing yourself.
I don't believe in partnership. This is another talking point. He likes to use that term. Marriages are not partnerships, okay? The man is in charge. Partnership, no, that can't exist in a marriage. Total nonsense. How can you have submission and be partners? Partners means equal 50-50.
Very best piece of advice I've ever gotten when it comes to dating is this. Find a man who wants to be a husband, not a man that wants a wife. There's a difference in the amount of capacity he will have for you, the amount of unconditional care he can give. Is
she reading a script? I think she's reading a script. Airhead.
Willingness to serve versus a neediness to be served, and in his ability to consider your experience instead of getting consumed by his own.
This is just self-serving mumbo-jumbo nonsense. Just more effeminist garbage. She's trying to present herself as a pick-me and like she's somehow traditionally conservative. Really, no, you're an effeminist.
To just start living.
I mean, look at those gigantic lips. You think those are real?
By this, because that is so great.
When it comes to dating and relationships, who's typically seen as the prize, the man or the woman?
Me, bitch. Yeah, the woman.
So who's the prize in a lesbian relationship? Both of them?
Both of them. Yeah, oh God. Both be the prize.
So then why aren't they both the prize in a heterosexual relationship?
Because I was about to say men are down here and women are up here.
Okay, so are women equal to men or are women superior to men?
For sure, superior.
Okay, so then why do women go around saying they want equality when they actually want superiority?
It's just for the look.
Men are pathetic and have low self-esteem, and as a female, if you ask them out or give them a compliment, like, you're making wonders for them.
Well, yeah, that's true, because most men never have the experience of a woman asking them out, so they'll probably remember that for the rest of his life, whereas most women get asked out so frequently they don't even remember it later that day.
It makes them feel special, and everyone wants to feel special. It's like, that's also why females like when men approach and they don't.
Yeah, but women don't want to approach because as much as they'd like to maybe get with a dude, they want to have all the power, all the hand. It's all about power. It's all about control, this postmodernistic crap.
Necessarily want to approach men is because, like, it feels good. And also asking someone out is, like, extremely terrifying for a lot of people, especially men.
What you're saying is that women are privileged.
No.
Yes.
I would say.
Of course they are.
Okay, well, yes, but.
This is what you call hypocrisy at its finest. And I don't know if you guys remember, but this is the same woman who walked out crying because she couldn't even define what misogynistic means. That moment really showed who's truly pathetic. She loves to throw around buzzwords and accusations without understanding their meaning.
Notice she's got the cowbell nose ring. That's how you know you're dealing with a super uber feminist, when they've got that, that ring through, through there. Yeah.
And when
by the way, any nose ring is a red flag.
Confronted with the simplest of challenges, she crumbles. But if men are really so pathetic, why do they make up almost 90% of every critically important job or role in the world? From infrastructure to technology, medicine to military, men are the backbone of many industries that keep the world running. They build our cities, innovate our technology, protect our nations, and make monumental contributions to society. Yet, instead of recognizing that, women like her try to tear them down, throwing insults instead of acknowledging the reality.
OnlyFans is not feminist, and it's not empowering at all. You can
Yes,
do
it
whatever
is.
you want with your life, but it is an issue when you are promoting it on social media where there's lots and lots of children and young, vulnerable, confused girls.
Yeah, but isn't that feminism? Isn't that feminism? You're empowered. It's your body, your choice. You go, girl. You're a slay queen. That stigma against prawn. It's just a social construction of men to shame women and make them feel ashamed about their bodies and not be able to earn a living off of S work, which is real work. Yeah, okay.
Might be in high school. Anyone who works in that type of work is actually just giving them psychological damage and altering their view on natural, healthy human relationships.
Yep.
It's not feminist to objectify yourself to be a puppet for...
It actually is feminist to objectify yourself. They say it. It's good to objectify yourself so long as you're the one profiting. It's okay. It's just not okay for anybody else to profit that has a PP.
someone else's fantasy. The average creator is making $150 a month, which is clearly not financially stable, but even if we throw the finances out and if they are a millionaire, let's talk about how psychologically this can affect your views on the world. Women in the feminist movement have worked so hard just so women can be more than just a housewife or just something.
What do you mean be more? Isn't that like the pinnacle? I love this. I love this denigration of what is the highest calling you could possibly have. So I should be more. You should be, but I thought that feminists were okay with you doing whatever you want. Meanwhile, she's portraying feminism as being something that promotes being more than a housewife, which is actually the truth. Feminists go out of their way. Feminists go out of their way to shame and ridicule women for choosing to be housewives. Being a housewife is, it's reinforcing patriarchy. It's feeding into patriarchy. It's making patriarchy possible. Choosing to be a stay-at-home mama, that is choosing to be a slave and be oppressed. Yeah. Oh, but that's not what feminism is about. Destroying the family? Oh, no. Meanwhile, it's the highest calling there could be, raising the future generation of children. Meanwhile, this woman is trying to portray the highest calling as going to some job, being a nameless, faceless cog in a machine, and submitting to some total stranger dude who pays you a salary. And at the end of the month, you have no extra spending cash. And meanwhile, if you were to actually submit to your husband and stay home and raise your kid, wages would be doubled, he'd be making enough, and you'd be able to stay home and raise your child. And have actual meaning in your life, but I would have to submit to my husband.
To a man. And there's a science behind this. Psychology is a science of how relationships...
Psychology is not a science, it's a pseudoscience, and it's nothing more than a social control designed to create certain ginned up standards of behavior that are front-loaded into people who actually take this garbage seriously, and in that way, you're controlling what they see as normal and right and okay behavior. It's just another form of social control.
Work. how we view ourselves, how we view others, how we treat others is highly based on our own experiences. For example, if you're a teacher, you may see the world in a different lens because you're exposed to children all day. Our subconscious is much more powerful than we think. Everything we do without even realizing it is stored into our subconscious, and it later comes out on our conscious behaviors. If you're someone who does OnlyFans, you are exposed to a side of society or people.
I don't know what her point is. What's your point, honey?
Clientele or whatever in a certain light. That is your everyday life if that's your work. On the opposite end, if you're someone who purchases from this, instead of having a real relationship, you have a online whatever that you're paying for. Your view on women and relationships is going to be so altered because you need to touch grass. It's just so online. Yes, our careers are money, but they do define us and they do have a big impact on who we become as people. Our careers are habitual. If you are practicing healthcare, you are in the industry of also being compassionate to others, saving lives, seeing people at their lowest. That is who you will become because it's a habit. What I'm saying is that long term, there is nothing feminist about destroying your mental health for money. And I don't know why nobody is talking about this because it's so normalized, but this is abnormal behavior. It is feminist to work hard, publish a study, do something with your life that can cater to society. It is feminist to be a mom also.
It's effeminist to be a socialist, a communist, a Marxist, right.
It is still feminist to maintain your house and be there for your family. I think the radical view of...
Didn't you just say it's not effeminist to be a single mom and you should aspire to more? I mean, to be a stay-at-home mom and you should aspire to more?
Feminism nowadays is very flawed. And we're taught that work, no matter how it is feminist. I don't know if you guys have seen that lady on TikTok who makes lunches for her husband, and she's so sweet. And sometimes I've seen comments that will say that she's working for him or whatever. But no, she's not. She's catering to her family. That does not make her less feminist. Being there for your loved
Yes, it does. And she is working for him and the family, and that's a good thing.
ones does not make you less of a feminist.
Feminists seem to support everything else except for women who want...
I find it interesting. That's not effeminist. This is not effeminist. Yes, it is. Again, this is just another person trying to represent old-fashioned feminism before modern feminism. Like there's some kind of delineation, which it doesn't actually exist, as being acceptable and right. And well, that's not feminism. This is not feminism. Yeah, all those things actually are feminist.
To have a family and build a happy life. Those women get bashed through the roof, often labeled as backward or oppressed for choosing a traditional path. It's ironic because the core idea of feminism is supposed to be about giving women the freedom to make their own choices.
Not true. The core of feminism, what it's based upon 100% entirely, is men have oppressed women throughout time, and you must overthrow the patriarchy. That's feminism. That's the foundational tenet which it's all built upon. So there is no good feminism.
But when a woman decides that her happiness lies in starting a family, staying home to raise her kids, or supporting her partner, she's criticized and shamed as if she's betraying the movement. What's even more telling is that the same people who preach empowerment are quick to tear down women who choose family life, as if building a home and raising children somehow makes them lesser or unambitious. In reality, it's one of the most meaningful, challenging, and rewarding things a person can do. These women are often seen as anti-feminist or submissive, when really they are just prioritizing what brings them fulfillment.
Yeah, so isn't it interesting that in their want to overcome the evil patriarchy, they want to become the patriarchy? That everything they do and pursue and what they try to be is men. It's interesting. Men are oppressive and evil, and the patriarchy is bad, so let's replace it with a matriarchy that pretty much acts in the exact same way, but even worse, because now we have this idea, all we women have the idea in our head that the people that we are now oppressing are evil and have oppressed us throughout time. So now we need to pursue a course not only of social justice, but revenge. Because how could you not want revenge? You're a very emotional creature, and you believe that men have oppressed you and your gender throughout time. So now that I'm in a position of authority and power, I'm much more likely to abuse that power and that privilege for my own ends, to right some kind of imagined wrong, right? Oh, but modern feminism, it's bad, but the original feminism, which is the exact same as modern feminism, and there's no real delineation because they're both based on the same principles. Well, the modern feminism is just the bad one, but the original is good, even though they're both exactly the same. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section, and please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not already. Click the notification bell, leave a comment. It's good for the algorithm. And check out my GoFundMe if you'd like to support my content. Follow me on Patreon. Leave a super chat if you like to support my work. And on that note, I am out of here. I am the realist philosopher, and I wish you all a good and pleasant day. Take care.